Good morning, dear students. Today you are going to learn about pentose phosphate pathway. It is also called as HMP shunt pathway. This is an alternative pathway to glycolysis and TCA cycle for the oxidation of glucose. This pentose phosphate pathway is considered as more anabolic in nature since it is concerned with biosynthesis of NADPH plus H plus as well as pentose sugars. The learning objectives of today's topic are: describe pentose phosphate pathway or HMP shunt pathway and its significance, its regulation, and the associated disorders with it. The pentose phosphate pathway is an alternative route for oxidation of glucose other than glycolysis and TCA cycle. So it is the pathway for the formation of pentose phosphate or pentose sugars as well as NADP reducing equivalents like NADPH plus H plus. This is also called as hexose monophosphate shunt pathway. The characteristic features of this pentose phosphate pathway are: it is a multi-cyclic process, and in this process there is no ATP is directly utilized or produced. So it does not generate any ATP or neither it utilizes any ATP in this pathway. If we consider the substrate, that is glucose 6 phosphate, if we consider 6 molecules of glucose 6 phosphate as a substrate of this pathway, so it finally is responsible for generating 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of NADPH plus H plus, and 5 molecules of fructose 6 phosphate, which are generated from the pentose sugars. So the first substrate of the pentose phosphate pathway is glucose 6 phosphate. It directly takes glucose 6 phosphate, hence there is no utilization of ATP. So once the 6 molecules of glucose 6 phosphate passes through this HMP shunt pathway or pentose phosphate pathway, it leads to the production or generation of 12 molecules of NADPH plus H plus and 5 molecules of fructose 6 phosphate from the pentose sugars with the liberation of 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. This is the overall reaction process of this pentose phosphate pathway. Now, the location. The enzymes of this pentose phosphate pathway are present in the cytosol of almost all the cells, but there are few uh, tissues which are most enriched in this pentose phosphate pathway. So they are the liver, adipose tissue, adrenal glands, erythrocytes, testes, and lactating mammary glands, and red blood cells and neutrophils. So these are the uh, tissues where there is high activity of HMP shunt pathway, and the functions associated with these tissues are given here in the table. This pathway is divided into two different phases. That is, the phase 1 is oxidative and irreversible phase, and phase 2 is non-oxidative and reversible phase. The phase 1 is responsible for the production of reducing equivalents NADPH plus H plus as well as the pentose sugars like ribulose 5-phosphate, and it is also the regulatory phase of this pathway, as there is a regulatory enzyme glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase in this phase, which determines the uh, functioning or the rate of this pathway. Then the second phase, that is non-oxidative phase, is concerned with the interconversion of 3, 4, 5, and 7 carbon monosaccharides. So let us learn about them in detail. So here is the outline of pentose phosphate pathway, where there are two phases, that is oxidative phase and non-oxidative phase. The first phase, that is oxidative phase, you can see that glucose 6-phosphate is the substrate, and this glucose 6-phosphate in the oxidative phase is converted into ribulose 5-phosphate, which is the first formed pentose sugar in this HMP shunt pathway. And during this conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to ribulose 5-phosphate, there is two molecules of NADPH plus H plus is generated with the liberation of one molecule of carbon dioxide. So this first phase is concerned with the production of reducing equivalents and liberation of carbon dioxide and production of ribulose 5-phosphate, and this is the oxidative phase which is concerned with the enzyme glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, which is a regulatory enzyme of this pathway. Then the next one, the second phase, is non-oxidative phase, which is concerned with the interconversion of 3, 4, 5 and 7 carbon monosaccharides. So let us learn about them in detail one by one. So phase 1, that is oxidative phase. So in this oxidative phase, the substrate for the HMP shunt pathway is glucose 6-phosphate. As this pathway utilizes glucose 6-phosphate directly, so it doesn't require any ATP, it doesn't require any energy for its for this pathway. So the glucose 6-phosphate is acted upon by the most important regulatory enzyme, that is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, and converts and oxidizes the glucose 6-phosphate into 6-phosphogluconolactone with the liberation of one molecule of NADPH plus H plus. So this reaction requires magnesium or calcium ion for its activity. So the oxidation of glucose, where the glucose 6-phosphate is oxidized by the enzyme glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase and converts it into 6-phosphogluconolactone with the liberation of reducing equivalent, that is NADPH plus H plus, and this reaction requires magnesium or calcium ion for its activity. This is the most important reaction of this cycle, and it is the regulatory enzyme and regulatory reaction which regulates the total cycle of this pathway. So this 6-phosphogluconolactone is then hydrolyzed by the enzyme lactonase to form 6-phosphogluconate. So this 6-phosphogluconate is then is first oxidized, then decarboxylated in presence of enzyme 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase to form ribulose 5-phosphate. This ribulose 5-phosphate is the first formed pentose sugar in HMP shunt pathway. So here you can see the glucose 6-phosphate is converted to a 5-carbon pentose sugar, that is ribulose 5-phosphate, with the liberation of carbon dioxide, one molecule of carbon dioxide and two molecules of NADPH plus H plus. So this is how the oxidative phase occurs. So where there is conversion of a 6-carbon compound, that is glucose 6-phosphate, into a 5-carbon compound, that is ribulose 5-phosphate, with the liberation of carbon dioxide, one molecule of carbon dioxide and two molecules of NADPH plus H plus. So this is an irreversible phase and the regulatory phase of this cycle. Then next let us see about non-oxidative phase. So the non-oxidative phase, the reactions are concerned with the interconversion of 3, 4, 5 and 7 carbon monosaccharides. So here the ribulose 5-phosphate, which is formed in the oxidative phase, is acted upon by the enzymes like epimerase and ketoisomerase. The enzyme epimerase converts ribulose 5-phosphate to produce xylulose 5-phosphate, and the enzyme ketoisomerase converts ribulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate. Once again, the ribulose 5-phosphate, which is the end product of the oxidative phase, or which is generated during the oxidative phase, is acted upon by two types of enzymes. That is, one is epimerase and second one is ketoisomerase. So the epimerase acts on ribulose 5-phosphate and converts it into xylulose 5-phosphate, which is also a pentose sugar, and the ketoisomerase acts on ribulose 5-phosphate and converts it into ribose 5-phosphate, which is also a pentose sugar. So this is the first reaction of non-oxidative phase. So here then the enzyme transketolase catalyzes the transfer of two carbon moiety from xylulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate to give a 3 carbon glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and 7 carbon pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. The transketolase is dependent on coenzyme thiamine pyrophosphate and magnesium ions. So the transketolase catalyzes the or it can catalyze transketolase catalyzes here the transfer of 2 carbon moiety from xylulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate to give a 3 carbon glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and 7 carbon pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. So this transketolase enzyme is dependent on thiamine pyrophosphate and magnesium ions for its activity. Then in the next reaction, the enzyme transaldolase brings about the transfer of 3 carbon fragment from pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to give rise to fructose 6-phosphate and a 4 carbon erythrose 4-phosphate. Then, in the next reaction, the transketolase acts on xylulose 5-phosphate and transfers 2 carbon fragment from it to erythrose 4-phosphate to generate fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be further catabolized through glycolysis and citric acid cycle. The glucose may also be synthesized from these two compounds. So this is how the non-oxidative phase goes on. So once again listen to me. The ribulose 5-phosphate which is generated at the end of the oxidative phase is acted upon by two types of enzymes, that is epimerase and ketoisomerase. The epimerase converts the ribulose 5-phosphate to xylulose 5-phosphate and ketomerase acts on ribulose 5-phosphate and converts it into ribose 5-phosphate. Both are the pentose sugars. Then in the next reaction, the enzyme transketolase catalyzes the transfer of 2 carbon moiety from xylulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate and gives rise to 3 carbon glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and a 7 carbon pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. So this enzyme, the transketolase, is dependent on the coenzyme thiamine pyrophosphate and magnesium ions for its activity. Then in the next reaction, that is transaldolase, brings about the transfer of 3 carbon fragment from pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to give fructose 6-phosphate and 4 carbon erythrose 4-phosphate. Then in the next reaction, the transketolase acts on xylulose 5-phosphate and transfers a 2 carbon fragment from it to erythrose 4-phosphate to generate fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be further catabolized through glycolysis and citric acid cycle. The glucose may also be synthesized from these two compounds. So this is how the non-oxidative phase of HMP shunt pathway goes on, or pentose phosphate pathway goes on. So this non-oxidative phase is mainly concerned with the interconversion of 3, 4, 5, 7 carbon monosaccharides from the ribulose 5-phosphate. Then the significance of pentose phosphate pathway. The pentose is required for the biosynthesis of nucleotide and nucleic acids. RNA and DNA are provided by the pentose phosphate pathway. It provides a route for the interconversion of pentoses and hexoses. This pathway is responsible for the generation of NADP H+, which is required for many biosynthetic reactions or biosynthetic metabolic reactions like synthesis of fatty acids, synthesis of cholesterol, synthesis of steroid hormones, and synthesis of neurotransmitters. They are exclusively dependent on NADP H+. Apart from this, the NADP H+, is also required in the detoxification reactions. It is concerned with detoxification reactions. So the role of NADPH plus, H plus and glutathione. In RBC, the NADPH plus H plus is required to maintain the levels of reduced glutathione. The reduced glutathione protects the RBC membrane from toxic effects of hydrogen peroxide by reducing hydrogen peroxide to water. Apart from it, the NADPH also keeps iron of hemoglobin in the reduced ferrous form or in the reduced ferrous state and prevents the formation of methemoglobin. So this reducing equivalent NADPH is very important for in detoxification reaction, where it converts the hydrogen peroxide to water molecule, and it is also required to maintain the iron of the hemoglobin in the ferrous state and prevent the formation of methemoglobin. So these are the important aspects of NADPH plus H plus apart from other biosynthetic metabolic reactions. Then regulation of pentose phosphate pathway. The glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase is a rate limiting enzyme of this pathway. The activity of this enzyme is regulated by cellular concentration of NADPH. The NADPH is competitive inhibitor of glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase. So the first enzyme, the first reaction of HMP shunt pathway itself is a regulatory reaction, and the enzyme is a regulatory enzyme of this pathway, which is totally dependent on the concentration of NADPH plus H plus in the cell. An increased concentration of NADPH decreases the activity of glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase. For example, under well-fed condition, the levels of NADPH decreases. The levels of NADPH decreases and pentose phosphate pathway is stimulated by stimulating glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase with the decreased NADPH levels. And in starvation and in diabetes, the levels of NADPH are high. Hence, this high level of NADPH inhibits the enzyme glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase, and in turn it inhibits the pathway. So this is how the NADPH has the influence over the enzyme glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase. So it can stimulate or it can inhibit the pathway depending on the concentration of it in the cell. Apart from it, the insulin also enhances the pathway by inducing the enzyme glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase and 6 phosphogluconolactone dehydrogenase. The disorders of pentose phosphate pathway. The deficiency of glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase. The glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency is an X-linked inherited disorder which is characterized by hemolytic anemia due to excessive hemolysis. Most of the individuals are asymptomatic. However, some individuals with glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency develops hemolytic anemia if they are exposed to drugs like antibiotics, antipyretic, or antimalarial drugs. Glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency and resistance to malaria. The persons with glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency cannot support the growth of malarial parasite, that is Plasmodium falciparum, and thus are less susceptible to the malaria than the normal persons. This kind of adaptation is mostly seen in the African people, where they are less susceptible to this malarial parasite when compared to the peoples of the other inhabitation. Then Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. So it is a genetic disorder due to the reduced activity of thiamine pyrophosphate dependent transketolase enzyme. The reduced activity of transketolase is due to the reduced affinity for thiamine pyrophosphate. In the chronic thiamine deficiency, the transketolase enzyme has much reduced activity, leading to the Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. The symptoms of Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome includes weakness, mental disorder, loss of memory, and partial paralysis. So this completes the today's topic, that is HMP shunt pathway or pentose phosphate pathway. So this pathway consists of two phases, that is oxidative phase and non-oxidative phase. The oxidative phase is concerned with the generation or with the production of reducing equivalents like NADP, H plus, and ribulose 5 phosphate, and this is an irreversible phase. And the next phase is the non-oxidative phase, which is the reversible phase, and is concerned with the interconversion of 3, 4, 7 carbon sugars. And finally, uh, from this HMP shunt pathway, the reducing equivalents NADP, H plus and pentose sugars are generated, and these are very important for the biomedical importance. So today's assignment on biochemistry is this clinical question. You need to go through it and write the answer and send it back to me on Telegram.